Hello guys, my name is Vadim and some of you know me as a creator of Let's Plays and guides for complex strategy games such as Hearts of Iron or Master of Orion. But today I'm going to try something different, and for the past few years I've been going to get a degree in psychology, and this new format I want to dedicate to analyzing, like depth analysis of the games. And it's my pleasure to start with a game that I really love. It's called The Beginner's Guide by Davey Wreden, and it's a good reason to make this video now, because on the October 1st of 2025 there will be a 10 years anniversary of releasing this game on the Steam platform, and it's my pleasure, I'm really excited, and let's start. First of all, there will be no full gameplay shown, so I expect you to play the game first. Second, a little disclaimer, I will be relying on the concept called death of the author. This means my interpretation may not match what the actual author, Davey Wreden, had in mind when he was making it. And all I'm saying is that if you play the game while keeping my concept in mind, almost all of it, like 90 to 95%, will make sense. Also, I don't want to analyze Davey Wreden as a person, but I will take into account some real world facts. Before this game, Davey Wreden created Stanley Parable, of course, which was quite successful. And actually the dates mentioned in the beginner's guide match really closely to the timeline of creating the Stanley Parable. And second, it's for a long time there have been no new games from Davey after like the beginner guide up until like really recently. Yeah, so congrats on that. And the third one is Davey was described by many, and even by himself, as somewhat of a messy and even a bit of a drama queen. So with that, I want to start from the symbolism of this game. So in Stanley Parable, the concept was simple. The player has two doors, two choices, and he needs to choose one of them. Door A leads to result A, door B leads to result B. Simple, right? However, in the beginner's guide you also have plenty of choices, but the result is always the same. This game is more about Zen-like vibes, and you can't win or lose here, you can only experience it. And the symbolism is present at almost all levels, except the very first one, Whisper, or Escape from Whisper, where there is a choice of two corridors, but one is blocked. And I believe that moving from two choices, two outcomes, to two choices, one outcome is one of the first mental transition Davey shows us in this journey. And the second concept of the game is a puzzle. And I believe the narration explains the puzzle idea quite directly. But I also think it represents the transition between phases of life. At first we have phase one, and then we encounter the puzzle, and in the dark space or in the shadow we glimpse at something new, an interlude to the future phase, phase two. At some point two phases coexist until we decide to pull the switch permanently, leave the past behind, and only then move on to the future, to the phase two. And this fits the puzzle pattern. Like first is discovery, then coexistence, then commitment, and then moving forward. Although the game explicitly talks about two characters in it, I believe there's actually three characters. And the first one, of course, we meet first is Davey Wreden, the narrator. It's a character, and I will call him the lamppost guy, because it's his fixation on a lamppost. The second is introduced by the narrator. It's Coda. I believe it's some sort of a nickname, but like it's my theory, maybe on some forum or something like that. And this is a guy who makes conceptual games, but is reserved and doesn't like showing them to the public. And there's actually the third character, and the third character is the Davey Wreden, also Davey Wreden, but the one who created the beginner's guide, and it's different from the narrator. Yeah. And my perspective is that these three characters represent the same person, all of them, Davey Wreden, but at different stages of his life journey. And here's how I see it. At some point, Davey was Coda, a beginner level designer who could generate original game ideas and plot twists, like cool, conceptual, and actually even the first two levels we see in the beginner's guide, like the intro, this dust like a map for Counter-Strike and Whisper, they weren't even created by him, but by an earlier version of Davey, even pre-Coda days. And this pre-Coda guy was only the learning and trying stuff, trying to fit in, trying to be like others. But then in the middle of making Whisper, Coda is born, like focusing on new concept, games as art, innovation, and so on. And most of the early games we see belong to Davey's Coda phase. Later in the game called Down, he adds his first lamppost, and I believe the first lamppost it's actually was added by Coda himself. But these new ideas and these fixations, similarly to what we saw in Whispers, like this was the initiation of the narrator Davey, of the lamppost Davey. And from then on, the idea of making playable games for others occupies like Davey's mind, like the person Davey mind, more and more. And the phase of Coda plus narrator begins. At their first encounter as two entities occurs during the creation of nodes. And the lamppost guy immediately shows his true colors. He thinks of himself as a superior to Coda. In his narrations, he doesn't show real interest in Coda works. One of my points is that we don't actually see the real narrator Davey in the game. The game is about him, not about Coda. Even when it seems to be about Coda, it's still about the narrator. Like all the drama revolves around the narrator. We see things only from his perspective. And for example, when Coda is happy for reasons the narrator doesn't understand, like in the house game, narrator calls it grossly happy. But when narrator is happy for reasons he can't explain to others, like when he shows Coda's works to others, he says, "Oh, it's beautifully happy," see. And if we connect this to the puzzle concept, I believe that the game describes the transition from Coda to narrator in the past, and then from narrator to creator Davey in the present. What we see are actually the memories of creator Davey about the narrator Davey, as he met him in person during his narrator and creator phase, like with combined narrator plus creator phase. But the creator never met Coda, so everything he knows about Coda comes only from the narrator's thoughts and memories. So actually the narrator is a memory, but the Coda is a memory of a memory. And that's why even at the end of the game we barely know anything about Coda, while the plot and judgment are directed towards the narrator. And because Coda and narrator are earlier phases of creator Davey, and the narrator is portrayed negatively, while Coda is a neutral or even almost absent. The real trick of the game is that while it describes the conflict between Coda and narrator, it actually shows the conflict between creator, current Davey who makes the beginner's guide, and the narrator, a side of himself that he is like sick and tired of. And the conflict between Coda and the narrator revolves around how they see games. The lamppost guy aim is to own and beat the game. he defines himself by what he consumes. Once he beats one game, he demands another. He hurries, he rushes, doesn't want to dive into details. But on the other hand, Coda doesn't rush anywhere. Like he spends hours climbing ladders or sitting in prison. And sometimes prisons or cages are not built to protect or keep someone inside and protect the world from this person, but on contrary, to protect this person that is sitting inside from the world that is outside. And what other people can call prison, one can actually call home. And this idea was beautifully shown in the cleaning game. For Coda, the goal is this Zen-like experience along the way, not reaching the end. And I find it really interesting that the beginner's guide doesn't have achievements in Steam, which is like shown and underlines this Coda's idea of the view of the world. And when it is said that narrator added a lamppost to Coda's games, it might not be literally, it might be a metaphor for like this narrator part of Davey decorated, marketed and adjusted Coda's games and ideas to publish them for a broader audience. And so the final product was made by Davey as a whole, as a person, but it was created by both Coda and the narrator during this like combined phase. So Coda handled creativity and the narrator handled like marketing and accessibility, sometimes at the cost of the original artistic concept that was created by Coda. And then the lamppost guy wanted more and more and more of playable games, new concept, new ideas, to get them, dress them up and show them to others. But Coda's whisper machine, or the source of new ideas, it didn't work like that. And when they talk about the zip file with hundreds of games, so it's maybe a metaphor for hundreds of undeveloped ideas. So maybe the creative mind prepared lots of concepts for lamppost-oriented games, but they didn't survive the narrator's critique and were like just dismissed as empty, to the point where the narrator thought the Coda was laughing at him, while he was just trying. And the external validation from the narrator, from the outside, it comes with criticism. And the theater games show how destructive the critique was for Coda's creativity. And from this point, Coda starts retreating, and fewer and fewer games come from him. The Coda side of Davey doesn't feel like it has it anymore, and the narrator constant demands for new ideas combined with heavy criticism just killed Coda and silenced the whisper machine. So this theme of Coda's decline, it starts with a spaceship game, Mobius, and continues from then on. In the machine game, the final game before the ultimate goodbye by Coda, Coda shows his feelings directly. Coda can't continue, while the narrator Davey tells everyone that everything is fine, that there will be more games in the future. In this game, actually, the player is the narrator, and it's he's literally pushed by the outsiders, by the press, to go and force the machine, the Coda, to produce new games, start working again. And when like peaceful persuasion fails, he starts threatening, and when the threats fail, like the violence is only what's left. And again, all of this happens in the head of one man, in Davey Wreden's head. And at this point, Coda decides to withdraw completely, staying behind the puzzle door while pushing the narrator Davey, the lamppost Davey, forward without him. And then we reach the tower where Coda says his final goodbye. And here in the tower we see a maze for the second time. And I believe in this game mazes appear at the final moment before the transition or the ascension. And we saw a maze before the transition to Coda, before the birth of the Coda. And now, at the end, before the full transition, the completion of transition from Coda to the narrator, but not by ascending, but by being crushed by walls. And this is the final moment. But we actually see the third transition, which comes in the epilogue. It's transition from narrator Davey to creator Davey. And if we think at the moment, the epilogue game, it wasn't created by Coda, because it says that the tower was the last game by Coda. So that means it was made by the creator Davey, the one who made the beginner guide from scratch. And actually the epilogue explains the reason for the transition from narrator to creator Davey. And the whole level has like this death and rebirth atmosphere. During the game, narrator Davey withdraws completely and runs away, and we don't see the narrator anymore, and he leaves space for creator Davey to take control of the Davey as a person. And actually this creator Davey doesn't say a single word in this game, but in the end he is the one behind everything that is shown. At the very end, the final transition happens. Narrator dies, creator ascends, and although there is no maze in epilogue, during the ascension we see the endless maze below us, meaning the actual maze is an entire journey leading us to this point. And there is no mention of Davey Wreden in the end credits. It's interesting to note that he mentions other people but not himself, and I see it as maybe this represents the creator Davey desire to distance himself from the narrator, who is known by the name of Davey Wreden. And the song played during the end credits turn back reinforces this. I think the cave in the song represents the depths of our psyche, and like the meaning is the deeper you go, the harder it gets, and there's a voice telling you to it's enough, you should stop, you should rest, but despite that you keep going anyway. Okay, I will stop at this. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment on this video. What do you think about this analysis? Maybe there's something else you wanted to add. And before I say goodbye, like there's one point I want to make, like about 3 dots. It's like a PS. And as for 3 dots, I can't say for sure what they mean. Maybe they're a solution to the puzzle, like lever up, lever down, lever up. Or they represent the old Steam symbol, it's really look like. Or they represent like 3 characters of the game, like, 2 in the present, 1 in the past. Or maybe they're just meaningless. Or maybe they're something that only Davey Wreden knows. So whatever the case, I don't think it matters too much. So thank you for attention, and goodbye.